Okay, so the last, so we're in the middle of Parakid Beis, towards the end of Parakid Beis, but the last two chapters, Nefesh HaChaim was going into the pasuk of Ki Hashem Hu Elokim, right, and then Ein Oid Milvadai, right? It says Hashem Hu Elokim, so he explained to us what the name of Hashem is, what the name of Elokim is, and how those two names come together as one entity. And then it finished, but the pasuk continues and says Ein Oid Milvada, which means there's nothing besides him. And so Nefesh HaChaim is learning that as simple as it could be. There's really nothing besides Hashem, right? And so anything that exists is only in a way, temporary, but a mirage from our perspective, right? And then he brought in the Gemara. The Gemara said that Ein Oid Milvadoi Afiluk Shofim. That means there's nothing besides him, even witchcraft. Meaning even witchcraft is not against him, so to speak. So even though on one hand the Gemara says that witchcraft is makrish pamal yishalmala, seems to confuse the kingdom of heaven, right? So because here's miracles, here's magic, what's the difference? Here's one, here's the other. And but the same Gemara continues and says that that Rabbi Chanina, he wasn't worried about it, and the Gemara says not because he had lots of schusim, and he explains it's not an idea of schusim. It's not the point. The point is nothing to do with schusim. It's that when a person is connected to Hashem and the oneness of Hashem, then he realizes that there is nothing that exists outside of Hashem that can contradict or can somehow be a chatzitza, be like a barrier to the existence, which is really what he said from the very beginning of this shar, that nothing that Hashem creates is really anti-Hashem, so to speak. So even though from our perspective we seek forces of evil seem to go against the oneness of Hashem. And he's saying, no, that's just part of the picture that Hashem created in this world. But in reality, when a person is connected to the idea of oneness of Hashem, so then everything, all of the barriers and all of the stumbling blocks that seem to go against it, they're only a mirage. They don't really go against it. They have no power. They have no independent power whatsoever. There's no such thing as independent power of evil. And so, because there's only Hashem Elokim, Ein Oid Milvado, there is nothing besides him, right? And that's where so we'll start over here. So be'emes, and that's what he's saying. So be'emes hu inyan godel usegula niflo. He says this is a great thing, great segula, lehaser levatel me'alav kol dinin uritzoynis acherim, for a person to nullify against him any sort of judgments or any subjugating out external powers. They'll have no power to rule over him. Should have no impact on him whatsoever. When a person sets in his heart to say, don't I understand that Hashem is the true God, right? And there's really nothing besides him, blessed be he. Shum koich bo'olam, nothing, no other force in the world. V'kol ha'olam klal, really all of the worlds don't really exist. V'hakol molei rak achduso haposhut, and everything is filled by his complete and perfect oneness. His baruch shmoi umevatel belivoy bitul gomor, and he nullifies in his heart completely. Ve'eina mashgiach klal al shum koich v'rotzim bo'olam, and he does not kind of take into consideration any other force or any other will in the world besides the will of Hashem. And a person subjugates his thoughts, and he clings his thoughts to the master, the only master in the world. Hashem is going to provide for him, is going to satisfy for him through his hands. That memela, all of the other forces will actually fall away. All of the other external factors, they seem to kind of impact the person's existence. They will fall away because he is so connected to Hashem. They will have no ability to act on him whatsoever. Now, really, this is a mefurish Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. What do we have in Pirkei Avos here? Right, so Pirkei Avos says, thank you. Okay, so Pirkei Avos says, this is this is Rabbi Gamliel. This is Perek Beis Mishnah Dalet. Rabbi Gamliel b'nai shel Rabbi Yehuda Anosi. It says, Hu hoyu omer. He used to say, Asei ritzoyne kirtzoynecha. Make your will like His will. Kedei sheyatzer ritzoyncha kirtzoynoi. So that He, meaning Hashem, will make your will like His will. Right? If you make your will like Hashem's will, if you make Hashem's will your will, Hashem will make your will His will. Right? And then it continues, Batal ritzoyncha mipnei ritzoyn. If you nullify your will before Hashem's will, so that He will nullify the will of others before your will. Right? So there's an issue of two sides to it. We're not going to get into the Mishnah of what the two sides are, but right. So that's what the Mishnah is saying. The Mishnah is saying if a person attaches to Hashem to such a degree that the only want that he has in the world is what Hashem wants, and Hashem will make sure that whatever want I have will become His want. Right? Okay. So let's see the Haggadah. The Haggadah says, "V'zeu inyan moiram b'Mishnah asei l'cha saraf." The Mishnah says, right? So we have this occurrence in the desert, right, where the Jews spoke badly against Hashem and Moshe, and they were punished with snakes in the desert, right? And Moshe davened to Hashem, and Hashem said, "Okay, so you build a copper snake, right? Put it up, and everybody, when they get stung by the snake, they go up and they see the copper snake, and they will be healed, right?" So the Mishnah Rosh Hashanah says on that, right? So this is the commandment: build for yourself this saraf, this burnt snake. And then the Gemara asks the question: really, what is does the snake kill or does the snake revive? Ella, rather, bisman Yisroel mistaklim klape malo. Rather, really, it's not the copper snake that has the powers, the healing powers. Rather than when Jews are looking up towards heaven, and they subjugate their hearts to their Father in heaven, etc., etc. So then they get healed, right? This means to say, so first they look up to the copper snake, and they realize the source of evil, which is the snake, right? Snake is the original cause of sin, right? They're reminded of the original cause of, source of evil. And they completely nullify in their hearts, and therefore they completely eradicate His powers from their hearts. And they can only subjugate their hearts to their Father in heaven. Then they get healed automatically. And this is some Kabbalistic things, that this is the true source of what we call hamtokas koichos hadinim. There's something called sweetening the judgment. I don't know much about it, but right. So what is in sweetening the judgment? Again, he's saying is this idea that when you recognize that the source of evil, what is the source of evil? The source of evil that exists only to further the creation, further the purpose of creation. There's no reason for evil to exist except to further the purpose of creation. So when the person looks up and he realizes that nachash, right, and he realizes that's the source of evil, but he realizes that's also from Hashem, and that's also part of the master plan, and he realizes that what he has to do is just to subjugate his heart to his Father in heaven, right? So then the evil falls away. He used the evil for the purpose that he needed to use it for. What was the purpose? The purpose is to come closer to the good. So he used the evil to as a stepping stone to get closer to good. So the evil falls away automatically. It's done its job, and so it's gone. And this also is what the intention of this passage in the Zohar. Pekuda Riviyah, the fourth commandment, Leminda, to know that Hashem hu Elokim, that Hashem is also the Elokim, Kid Omar, like it says in the pasuk, "V'yodata hayoim," right, etc., etc. Ki Hashem hu Elokim, uli iskalolo shmo de Elokim b'shmo de Havaya, and a person has to include the name of Elokim within the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. V'kad yinda barnash de kula chal, when a person knows that this is all one, v'lo yashve pirudo, and he does not kind of create, it doesn't formulate any separation. Period means separation. Afilu hahu sitra acha yistalak min al alma. Even that source of evil, what we call the other side, sitra acha yistalak min al alma, is removed from the world. And contemplate this. Okay, right. So again, so the basically, I mean, this is really part, and the Ramchal says this also, part of our recitation of Shema, when we say Shema Yisroel Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, is to contemplate the idea that even the forces of evil are all part of the master plan. They're all part of the oneness of Hashem. Right? We do not believe of some independent source, like some source, parts of Christianity. Right? There's an independent rebellious force of evil. Or like the Zoroastrians, which the Gemara talks about, that they also believed in, Hurmiz, I don't know, meaning that there is the God of light and the God of darkness. There's two forces in the world. There's forces of good and there's forces of evil, forces of light and forces of darkness, right? We say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That's why also we begin the whole bracha with, brings light, brings night, brings, that's right, because everything is part of Hashem hu Elokim. This idea that Hashem is the Elokim. Okay, v'gam yigzar oimer v'yokim loy. And if a person should say this, and it will be good for him, lifol in yonim v'nisim nifloim, to bring into action amazing wonders and amazing miracles. Hipuch sidur koichos atavoim, even counter the set laws of nature. Kiven shemish'abed umedabek toihar emunos levovoi be'emes baltimoid rak lo yisbarach levad, that if a person clings the purity of his faith within his heart truly only to Hashem, ve'etzloi yisbarach hakol shove, because by Hashem everything is equal, kol rega, every single moment. Lifal b'sidur ateva shikova or hipuch sidur ateva, whether to do within the forces of nature or even to do without the forces of nature, like we do see by Chanukah, right? They say right. One of the things that we're supposed to take away from Chanukah is that it's just as easy to have the oil burn for 8 nights for Hashem as it is to burn for 1 night. The force, the miraculous, when we see miracles, is to remind us that everything that happens within nature is just as miraculous as something outside of nature. I mean, who says that this is nature and this is not nature, right? Why is gravity any less miraculous than floating above air? I mean, gravity is a miracle. Nobody fully understands how it works, right? So from Hashem's perspective, laws of nature and not laws of nature, it's all the same thing. He created laws of nature to provide some basic foundationary order within the world that he created. But he could suspend that order at will, and it'd be just as, lawful as the laws that exist today. So therefore, what he's saying is that really a person who is so connected to God that by him he feels, he lives this idea that Hashem Echad, Hashem is one, and everything is just as simple as to God as anything else. So then he can actually live a life, so to speak, that's not bound to the laws of nature. It doesn't have to be bound to the laws of nature, because his will is God's will, and God's will, it could be within the laws of nature, it could be outside of the laws of nature. So whatever God's will is, so Hashem will take care of him. He will do whatever is necessary. Again, like a famous story of Rabbi Chanina ben Dois in the Gemara, he used to decree, and whatever he decreed, whatever he said would come out. Hipuch sidur ateva, even against the laws of nature. Right? This is exactly this Gemara. Misha Omer LaShemen vayidlok Omer LaChoim. It's like he didn't have oil, right? So he used vinegar. So he said, because whoever said that the oil should burn, will make vinegar burn. There's no difference between vinegar and oil. Just it happens to be Hashem said that oil should burn, but not vinegar, right? So he could suspend it. And Hashem took care of it. That such a thing also occurred. He lit with vinegar. Okay, and these stories with Rabbi ben Doisa are commonplace within the Gemara, right? When there's a scorpion or whatever it is, an orod, whatever that orod is, was a poisonous orod that killed people. He stuck his heel inside the hole where he lived, and it bit him, and he died. The orod died as opposed to Rabbi ben Doisa. So the point is, when you live that life of Rabbi ben Doisa, where you're so attached to Hashem, who are like him, there's nothing beside him, besides Hashem. So then you have the privilege to live a life that's above the laws of nature. Okay, so let's just pick up on the beginning of the next chapter, and we'll continue. We'll stop here. Now he's saying this was actually the service of our forefathers all their days. Because they, in their awesome righteousness and their purity and their holiness of their hearts, they were completely attaching their thoughts to Hashem, to the will of Hashem. All their days without an interruption of a moment. Right? There's a difference between us. We have our moments. We have our moments when we are attached to Hashem, and then the next day we could do things that are, completely way off. Completely way off. And logically we understand it's like well, how could we do these things, right? And because we are not, almost to say we're not human beings. A human being is supposed to be a bal seichel. A seichel is you do things that's what's logical. You do the right thing, right? You do what you're supposed to do. How is it that one day you're doing something that's logical, and the next day is you're doing something that's not logical? Right, that's not a human thing. That's a very lowly kind of idea. You see, the person says, "I'm going to go on a diet," right? And for a week he holds out, and then it's gone. Why? What changed? What it became any less obvious to you that you needed a diet? It's the same thing, but you have the thought, the logic of realizing that this is not healthy, this is not good, is not so, I guess, so immersive. You're not so immersed in it, so you could just today it seems very powerful and very strong and very emotional. You're inspired and you do it. The next day, just okay, it's just another thought. It's not very, it's not very, again, it's not very intelligent. It's not very seichel based, right? So always the forefathers whom we come from, they did not live their life like this. They had, every second of their life was attached to doing the right thing, right? And even so, that's why, in a way, that's what we say, any little slip up that Moshe Rabbeinu had, Yaakov Avinu had, Abraham had, any little slip up was considered to be a grave offense, because in their reality, that was huge. It wasn't just like, okay, today it didn't make sense. That wasn't the kind of life they were living. So through their will, they were able to abolish all other forces that seem independent in the world. And they were as nothing, as chaos and void in their mind. Therefore, that's how they were zoicha to these wondrous miracle of removal, even this maroches, right? According to the laws of nature, Abraham was not supposed to have kids, right? Hashem took him out to the stars and says, here's your mazel, so to speak, right? And according to this mazel, you're not supposed to have kids. Sarah is not supposed to have kids, but because they lived a life of complete attachment to Hashem, so okay, so now that those laws of nature were suspended, right? And so much so that Hashem's name is now permanently attached to them, that they are called Elokei Abraham, right? Now God is called God of Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, God of Yitzchak. right? When they were being taken out of Egypt, Hashem says to them, the God of your forefathers is going to take you out, right? That's Hashem became in this world now the God of Avram, God of Yitzchak, God of Yaakov. So this is what we already mentioned before, this idea that the forefathers are the chariot, right? Meaning because they're so attached to Hashem that they became the representatives of Hashem in this world. Okay, and then let's start this to get where we're going. Amnam, however, Madregas Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Shalom Hoysa Oid Yoiser Gavoya. The level of Moshe Rabbeinu was even greater than this. Right? So, what's greater than this? How could there be anything greater than this? I mean, we're talking about the forefathers completely attached themselves to Hashem every single moment of their lives. But Moshe Rabbeinu, he was even greater than this. Okay, leave it at that.